Well, that has got us off to a flying start with two great talks, sort of showing how data is transforming industries and has been used sort of in differing levels of sophistication, I think, over the years. But absolutely now we have the data and some of the data tools to implement real change. But it's now time to get into the competition side. And what we're going to do is we're going to start meeting our judges. We have a fantastic, we're calling them our industry judging panel. And between them, they represent the private investor sector, incredibly important, obviously, to a competition and process like this. The public sector, where that data is coming from, and research and academia, kind of those experts who really understand data. So let's start by inviting to the stage Dennis Murphy. He is Anaeko CEO and industry investor. And I'll just tell you a little bit about Dennis, because he's got a very interesting background. He was a co-founder and CEO of a cloud service company, but in his past, he's founded telcos and other businesses that have gone on to be sold for large amounts of money, and he's raised large amounts of money to invest in the businesses that he's been involved in. And that really qualifies him to be part of a competition like this, because I'm sure everybody who is participating and pitching to build a sustainable business in the back of their mind has a dream of raising, perhaps being Northern Ireland's next unicorn. Dennis, welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much, Robin. Just to add a little bit more color to what you say there, my day job, I'm CEO at Anaeko, a leading data optimization company. I've 30 years experience in technology, despite my youthful looks, of course. During that time, I've started and exited a number of tech companies, including Appian and Mobile Cohesion. Appian is still the biggest tech exit in Northern Ireland at 230 million. I'm an experienced angel investor with a number of scars on my back. I've had a range of successful exits, including Lagan Technology and PathXL. And in 2019, I was voted the Catalyst Innovation Founder of the Year. So that's just a short description.
You have established yourself in our minds, Dennis, as the appropriate chair for this competition. So why don't we're basically going to get our other judges up, Dennis. I will kind of announce them, but once they're up, I'll let you sort of have a brief conversation with them, because they're your judges. But I think next we're having up Jonathan Wallace, who is Professor of Innovation at the Faculty of Computing and Engineering at the University of Ulster. So a member of your judging team from the academic side, Dennis. Yeah. I'll let you chat.
Jonathan, maybe you could share some of the. I mean, when we were dialoguing about, which proposition you Q&A, you could have done any of them because of your wide and varied
background, I think. So I'm a professor of innovation, as I said, within the faculty. That's quite a diverse faculty. So it goes from computing through to engineering through the built environments. They often say that a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. So I've had to have expertise across all those three subject areas. I've been Director of Academic Enterprise to the faculty for the last 16 years. So I'm responsible for consultancy service provision, knowledge and technology transfer, and something that's very passionate about is entrepreneurship in our staff and students. So I'm actually a judge in our Ulster University Students' Union annual Shark Tank Awards, where they tell me I'm affectionately, at least I hope it's affectionately, known as the Great White of the Shark Tank judges. I might have some sharp teeth. I currently have a leading role in a number of regional, national and international digital health research projects, where I'm particularly applying my expertise in co-creation, UX and usability engineering, data science, and business model development. And I chair faculty computing. I'm a member and past chair of the IT professional body policy group for Northern Ireland, and chair of Andrew Enterprise Agency, and I'm deputy chair of the Northern Ireland Science Festival, which is one of the now leading science festivals of the last 4 or 5 years in the UK and elsewhere within Europe. So that's enough about me.
Brilliant. Dennis, shall we get up our next judge? So our next judge is a data specialist from the public sector, from the Belfast City Council City Innovation Team, and it's Andrea Thornbury. So Andrea, I'll let Dennis introduce you.
Hello, Andrea.
Hi.
Yes, we're very fortunate to have Andrea here today, as she is the leading data scientist in Belfast City Council. And regionally, Belfast City Council is very important because of the city deal, but also they have a very evolved strategy around data. So, Andrea, will you tell us a little bit about your background in the data area?
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. So, yes, Andrea Thornbury. I'm currently the data specialist in Belfast City Council's City Innovation Team. And we lead on the Smart Belfast programme, in which we have a framework. One of the foundations of which is to build the city's data assets and to unlock city data. And we're also responsible for the digital pillar of the Belfast Region City Deal, in which we're currently looking to develop a number of data foundations, potentially a citizen office of data analytics and an urban data platform. And obviously open data is a big motivation for us in both Smart Belfast and the Belfast Region City Deal, with many Smart Belfast projects having an open data component. And prior to public sector, I worked in the voluntary community sector in an organisation called NICFA, which is the umbrella body of the voluntary community sector here in Northern Ireland, and led on 2 open data projects there. One is ODI Belfast, which is an open data institute node, and we were the first in the island of Ireland. And also a project called Detailed Data, which was a data for good project, so social, environmental and economic, where we looked at topics such as, well, given today is World Suicide Prevention Day, we looked at suicide, historic buildings, we looked at HIV, a whole broad brush of topics that affect and challenges that affect the people of Northern Ireland, with the outcome that we affected some public sector funding and some strategy and policies as well. So showing the power of data generally, but specifically open data in that project. We had our own open data portal, which complemented Open Data NI. And then our role also was to work with the Open Data NI team to build the capacity of the voluntary community sector to use open data. Just over and above that, I am a member representing Belfast City Council on the G20 Alliance for Smart Cities, and currently work on the Open and Transparency Working Group there. And I'm also a member of the All Ireland Smart City Forum. Again, Belfast City Council is one of the 7 cities there. And I'm working on the data ethics and the open data working groups there also.
Brilliant. Shall we bring up our next judge, who is Siggy Siverson, and he's representing the sort of capital investment expertise. He's a partner at Kernel Capital. Siggy, do come and join us.
There we go.
Hi, Siggy. We're delighted that you could join us today. For those attending, Siggy and myself go back a long way. I'm responsible for bringing him to Northern Ireland. We've co-founded a company together, Mobile Cohesion. So Siggy is unusual in the venture capital community here. Okay, he's Icelandic. That's definitely pretty unique. But more importantly, he comes from an operating background. He has vast experience across a range of technology companies, and he's bringing that experience now to his venture capital work. So Siggy, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Hello, everyone. So I'm Siggy Siverson with Kernel Capital, as Dennis mentioned. Kernel, by the way, is one of the oldest functioning venture capital management companies in the island of Ireland. We're currently operating 3 funds: a growth fund in the Republic, a growth fund here in the north, and a seed fund in the Republic as well. My own background, I've been with Kernel a short time, relatively. I joined them at the beginning of this year, but my background for the last 25 years has been in technology companies on kind of both sides of the table. I started out my career building software for mobile phones in Denmark and Finland, and that tells maybe a little bit about my age as well. I went on to found a couple of companies, worked with Dennis and Mobile Cohesion, which brought me to Northern Ireland, that I've now lived in for 17 years. I've worked in venture capital in over two different periods, investing in a wide range of businesses. Kernel actually has 4 companies in our current portfolio that are very active in the data space, and they're more less to do with open data, but certainly leveraging open data in in their businesses, particularly in the financial and public sector type businesses. So it's an area that we look at very closely, and we definitely, data in its all shapes and guises is driving either directly or indirectly a lot of the companies that we have invested in.
Brilliant. Dennis, should we bring up our final judge?
Yes, please.
So our final judge is Cormac Mcconaughey. He'll be very well known in Northern Ireland from the Open Data NI portal lead, and he's an ICT specialist working closely with civil service in Northern Ireland. So Dennis, over to you again.
Hi, Dennis.
Hello, Cormac. It's great that you could join us. So I think Robin's done a good description of your background. Perhaps you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, I've been the portal lead for 4.5 years now for Open Data NI. It has been a challenging time on occasion trying to push the public sector to publish more data, and that challenge does continue. But as part of that, then we thought, as well as targeting the public sector to try and get more data out of there, sometimes we have to show the senior leadership and say, look at what people could potentially do with this data. And that's where the idea around challenges, competitions, and the innovation fund itself comes from. So previously we ran 2 education themed competitions. We were trying to get the public sector itself to sort of drive some of that innovation and some of the ideas and thinking, but it wasn't forthcoming enough. So what we did was to launch the first Open Data NI Innovation and Outreach Fund last November, which Anaeko was successful in. So we had over 20 bids in that initial fund. We funded 8 of those. COVID has had an impact on some of the projects so far, but a number are progressing quite well. And the plan will certainly be, come October, November this year, to launch the second iteration of the fund. So that's our approach, is to turn around and put funding in place and seek, whether it's from academia, SME, startups, whomever, to come in with the ideas that they will stimulate the thinking that we won't think of, or the public sector won't think of. But on the other hand, a big part of that obviously is getting more data out there. So for the likes of Anaeko entering this year, there was a certain volume of data there. What we want to do is, by the next iteration, is have a lot more data there, the same over the ensuing years, basically, so that, you know, there's interesting use cases that we can push back to senior leadership in the public sector and say, look at what companies and individuals were able to do with your data, and why are we not doing this? Why are we not using it to enhance our services, use public sector money much more cleverly and smartly than we are already? So that's the sort of the underpinning aim of the fund.
So Dennis, I know as a group of judges you're looking forward to these pitches. Are there any final comments you want to sort of make about the judging process so far? Because obviously we're just seeing the last part of it today.
Yes, well, you know, the various applicants, you know, submitted their applications, and they were reviewed by the judges. The judges have draft scores against those, and the scores will be finalized after the pitches, because I think, you know, I think the comments from a number of the judges was, it's really hard to see, you know, just from a simple application, you know, where the rubber hits the road, so to speak, with the particular proposition. And we're really looking forward to hearing the 3 teams now present, and then going to the green room, discussing them and doing the final scores. Brilliant.
So Dennis, I'll say what's going to happen next. I know you and the judges know exactly what's about to happen next, but for the benefit of our audience, so the process we're going to follow is we're going to meet our 3 teams, and they are getting 4 minutes to pitch. They can only have 2 slides. I hope they followed that rule. And then we're going to invite 2 of you as judges back up on the stage for each of those 3 pitches to ask some questions for 5 minutes, and then we'll just go through that process 3 times before, as you say, you go off and do your final deliberations as a group of judges. So if there's no more comments or thoughts from the judges, shall we come off stage and we'll invite our first finalist up, and we'll get the pitch process underway.
Okay.
So while everyone is leaving the stage, our first pitch is going to be from Jessica Mendoza from Monad. I hope I've pronounced that correctly, Jessica. So if you come up and join us, I'm going to get a little stopwatch going. So bear with me a moment while I get that sorted.
Not a problem. Let me just make sure that I am able to.
Do you want to get your slides ready?
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. I will come off stage, but I'll come back on. You'll know when your time is up because I will appear back.
Okay. Hold on a second. Let me just make sure that these can. Can you guys see my screen? No. Almost there. There we go. Now, can you see my screen? Yeah, I think so. Great. Let me just. Okay, great. So my name is Jessica Mendoza, and I am the founder of Monad. I'm here to talk about a solution that I encountered due to my own history. So I am originally from Venezuela, but by age 9, I was living in Scotland. And I moved back to Venezuela, and I moved then to the United States, and now I'm back in the United Kingdom. Between all of these moves, I found that there is something incredibly cumbersome. If you don't do it, you may incur really hefty fees. There's a lot of information that is misdelivered altogether. It is a waste for the environment as a whole, as you can see. And it's also your credit score lowers. And I think people are not sufficiently aware of this. So the problem is this. The problem is time and frustration. People can spend an enormous amount of time with call centers. On the flip side, on the B2B sides and on the B2G sides, there are logistical errors, operational losses, environmental costs, and all of these amounts to an incredible amount of waste that people are not aware of. So we started to think, how might we create a system that uses open data from different sources to create a smart delivery of information to the users, create more responsibility for the user side and for the business side, and also for the government side. Meanwhile, we're eliminating and reducing logistical errors, operational losses, environmental costs, and we're alleviating a pain that is very real for anyone who has relocated from one point to the other. I'll show you the solution. So the solution is minimal information input. So it is a platform. In some contexts, in the smart city environment, it is called an urban data platform, where we're gathering minimal information. We're using smart data sources to collect various pieces of data that are geographical based, just based on address data to surface it to the user. We are personalizing the entire experience and surfacing information about their new neighborhood. And I've put where open data NI comes into place. And in return, we're also notifying councils, businesses of the new address information. And this information is incredibly crucial because it reduces the amount of misinformation, logistical errors, as I've said before, and everyone is able to have the appropriate up-to-date registered addresses wherever they go. By doing this, we're facilitating freedom of movement for anybody to be able to move from one place to the other. And we're partnering with different property management companies to be able to fit the solution in the right points where the user is going to need it most. In order to make this to happen and make it a real great solution, we need to collaborate with local government. We need to collaborate with various institutions. We've already been collaborating with CFAS, which is the anti-fraud organization in the United Kingdom, because they know that old address information and activity in that place is risk data for them. So I think there are an amount of really great opportunities to make this be a proactive, responsible a solution that encourages responsible behavior, not only for individuals, but also for businesses, and bridging the gap of misinformation between online and offline. Thank you.
Well done, Jessica. Tough going first, but you've got us off to a flying start. So I'm now going to invite up Andrea Thornbury and Dennis Murphy, two of our judges. And when they arrive up on stage, we're going to set another timing clock. And that is going to be 5 minutes. So they'll have 5 minutes to, they'll have 5 minutes to talk to you. But congratulations on a great project. Judges, over to you. We'll set the clock and see you in about 5 minutes.
Andrea, if you would like to go first.
Hi, Jessica. That was a great presentation. Thank you very much. And as a representative of the government, and obviously with a strong interest in data, the most accurate, quality, up-to-date data we can get would be fantastic. It was more, I had a quick question around your commercial modelling of it. You know, you talked about your B2C and your B2B multi-layer model, commercial model. How would we pick the council to be involved in a project like this? Especially given COVID-19 and current financial climate?
So for the commercial model, there's two things. There's the B2B2C, which is via property companies. So we think like the right place to capture people is whenever they're relocating from one place to the others. Also collaborating with universities and their accommodations. That is one of the places where that transition and flow of people. The B2B and the B2G is mostly because we feel and we've seen that this data is very important to councils. We've already actually worked with 66 different councils across the United Kingdom on multiple locations where we're transferring up-to-date address information. That way they're able to tax the appropriate amount to that individual. And that is the reason why also anti-fraud organizations are interested in what we're doing. We have not explored yet the opportunity to work with police force, but I've heard also from various conversations that this may be also like of interest to the police organization, just to be able to best identify the appropriate people who are living in a certain property if need be.
Okay, thank you.
Jessica, how far have you got with developing the technology?
So we have an MVP. So far we have an algorithm in place. We have a connectivity of, we have verified more than 1,000 companies in the United Kingdom. A lot are governmental institutions that we're able to transfer data to. And the next phase for us is to finesse the machinery, like the algorithm that powers everything, to be able to scale it, and also test it across to various institutions efficiently. For example, one of our main suppliers, or like one of the main companies that we interact with, is Water UK, who operates and oversees all of the trade, all of the businesses, all the water businesses in the United Kingdom. They're able to supply us with geographical data, so we know actually when a person moves, what is the water supplier that is according to that data. We're not yet working with Northern Ireland Water, but that we see that that's a partner that may come into place. And they are interested in getting this information because they need to know when are they going to switch a contract on, or when are they going to switch a contract off. Depending on when a person is migrating to one place or the other.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And in terms then of your go-to-market, you know, there's a lot of possible business models and routes to market there. How are you going to validate your proposition with you know, what sector will you target initially?
We find it that, so for route to market is more about distribution. And we find it that in order for us to get this to the right place, it's great to test it with students. Students move constantly. Every semester, every term, they have to migrate. And they're often forgetful. And now that we have a number of institutions that they have to, we have the digital economy growing and the digital subscription services growing, we're able to identify some of them and be able to tell them about that move. That is in terms of in terms of who are we going to work with to test this technology, to test this service. But we still find that the ones that care most about it are local government officials and some utility companies.
Okay, so basically you haven't really figured out where you're going to, try and sell this first.
We see that it's in terms of selling, in terms of commercialization, it's talking with student accommodations and also property management companies.
Brilliant. Thank you, judges. Thank you, judges. Thank you, Jessica. It's pretty tough on the clock, I have to say. But really, this process we're watching here is for our benefit, the audience, because I know that the judges have already found out a lot about your business. So thank you for being our first finalist, and thank you, judges, for coming up and asking some tough questions. And if we'll hopefully see you later, Jessica, when we find out the result. But thank you for now, and we'll now get our next finalist up on stage. And that is Matt Keenan from Scout Skills. So I will just wait for Matt to come up. Do come and join me, Matt. And also, let's make sure you can share your screen. Hello, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Brilliant. Do you want to share are you showing us some slides?
Yes, I am. So I'll just
share your screen
if I can.
And then I will disappear and the timer will start once your slides are ready. So don't panic.
Just before I start, I want to apologize. I've been suffering from tonsillitis over the last few days. My voice isn't perfect. Apologies for that.
Brilliant. No problem at all, Matt. We can see your slides. I will disappear and the counter will fire up the 4 minutes. Best of luck.
Super. Thanks. So I'm going to start off with a bit of a shock first. And that's in the process of looking at a lot of this stuff where students are going to and that sort of thing. We started to do a study and we found out that according to the IFS, around 1 in 5 undergraduates would have been better off financially had they not gone to university. So in Northern Ireland, that equates to at least 1,800 students a year that start an undergraduate degree that will leave them financially worse off. So here's a typical case. Sarah is an A-level student. She's obviously thinking about her future. She's not sure what she should do next. She's got reasonable A-level results. She likes the outdoors, likes business, and would prefer to do a degree like her friends. But she's bewildered by her options. Nothing is clear. She's checked out things like prospects online, which have helped somewhat, but it has so many suggestions. She's not quite sure what to do. But the other thing also is there's not much guidance on things such as how much will it cost? Time, money, fees, accommodations. And also there's, how much would she be likely to earn when she finishes her degree? So also with the likes of COVID, the world is changing so much recently. How much will this affect her future career choices? What are the options? So what we have is a solution that addresses that. And we do that by providing information to answer these questions in an easy to digest format. The costs and benefits of education are presented in simple to understand visualizations. And we provide not just for current education outcomes, but we also provide forecasts for the future. So Sarah could log into our system, answer some questions to build up her profile, and then we would provide visualizations that outline the options that she has. And she can drill down into those visualizations to get more detail if she wants. Educators and future employers can also provide her with information about what they have to offer and where she can go from there. So how does it work? The open data is the linchpin to making this work. Data such as the Department of Education's longitudinal educational outcome studies and NISRA, which is the Northern Ireland Statistics Research Authority, they produce things like the labour force surveys, which provide insights into educational outcomes, what subjects people have studied, what their outcomes are, how much they've earned as a result of that. And so this provides a solution for everyone. It provides a solution for students, for educators, and employers. So for students, they provide aggregate and contextual data, and in return, they get a better understanding of their future options and possible outcomes. For educators and employers, they buy advertising, and that is directly aimed at the students at exactly the time that they're deliberating their options. And for policymakers, employers, and educators, they can also buy analysis of the aggregate data that we have on student profiles and on what their future preferences are. And that's it.
Well done, Matt. You kept that well within time, which is impressive. So now we're going to invite up two of our judges. We're bringing back Jonathan Wallace and Cormac Mcconaughey. Cormac, Jonathan, do come and join us up on stage. So Matt, once they arrive, we will set a timer clock for 5 minutes. I will disappear again, and I will leave it to them to ask some great questions of you. So, ready?
Okay.
Yep. Far away.
Great, thanks. Hi, Matt. I mean, obviously, this is something that's very dear to my heart, being an academic. I mean, I've spent a good part of the last 10 or 15 years working nationally and locally and internationally and trying to encourage more, particularly sort of STEM people to take up a STEM career and STEM subjects. So I think it's a really important aspect. I guess from my perspective, I think I'm understanding exactly how you're going to work through in terms of sort of traditional courses. What about flexibility? I mean, almost when you start a 4-year degree program, it's like an oil tanker. It's very hard to change. So what about differentiation? So for example, if something came up in terms of an area of technology, so there's been a lot of interest around data science because of COVID and the information is being provided now, for example. So how would you actually bring in opportunities around sort of in either individual modules, professional certification, or like the likes of short courses would actually help differentiate across different people if you're looking for, I'm thinking more of a career path for job opportunities? How do you think you can address that?
Yeah, so sorry for the feedback there. So initially, obviously, we from our initial launch and MVP, we have to be quite tightly focused. But the vision eventually is to have, it's not just about HE and FE. It also covers things like apprenticeships, that sort of stuff. But the other thing that I guess the big benefit we have, though, is from our visualizations, where we allow people to see the various options. So if they wanted to get, for example, into, say, a management position in software engineering, it says, look, you could do a BOT, you could do, AppSci in computing, you could do maths, and these are the various avenues, or you could go to an FE course and learn that, or you could go and do an apprenticeship with a software development firm, and it can show them the different paths, how they can get there, and show that there's not just one way to get to what they're at. But the other thing it also does is gives them the outcomes. If you do just a standard, computer science degree, what's your likely outcome in terms of salaries? What are the roles you're most likely to get to get that? So it's not just a case of they can look at just what degrees are available or look at what kind of jobs they want. They can actually see the options that go in between. And one of the big things we use is an alluvial diagram. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but they basically look like a chunk of, there's lots of different ways, and it splits up all the different ways that you can go through the different paths. And so it gives the student a much better idea of, there's lots of options out there. It isn't just one track to achieving what you want to achieve.
Okay, I mean, that addresses my first question, I think, and I appreciate you're saying, your minimal viable product for the first time, but you will take the likes of modern apprenticeships and things are actually becoming, earn as you learn models becoming quite popular, particularly with the companies like Allstate and Liberty IT in Northern Ireland who've got a good relationship with themselves in Ulster in terms of actually doing that. It's been very effective. I guess my other major question around this, particularly for people who are sort of GCSE level, is in terms of career paths and everything else and what's subject to study. It's actually probably more peers and actually probably their parents who provide a lot more influence in what they choose, rightly or wrongly. How do you think you might be able to use this to try and influence them in a positive way?
Yeah, so our biggest thing is we look at open data sets like the LEO, the longitudinal educational outcomes, and labour force surveys, which means then that, like a lot of parents, it's been 20 years since they went through university, and the way the world was then is quite a bit different to what it is now. And because we rely so heavily on this data that's up to date, as well as analysis from that data, which gives us future projections, like, certain careers have been expanding over the last 5 to 10 years and other careers have been, there's less people in them. So because we're able to give people concrete, easy to understand examples of where things are now and where things are likely to go in the future, it means that they're able to, they still will listen to their parents, but it means that they've got some hard facts in front of them that give them more information to help them make the best decision for them.
The only reason I mentioned this, sorry, Cormac, and I'll let you just finish this off more as a comment. I mean, I know it's very hard for us to actually let the parents understand, even in open days, which are actually currently running virtually, for example, what we've gone through in terms of the people who have gone through what just graduated, who are actually out in placement now, and somebody who's out there and a senior manager. But I think actually if you help given that you've done the alluvial diagram and help the actual student visualize that, I think if there's any way you can actually help the parent visualize that too, it might be a worthwhile angle to try and do, but we could discuss that later on. Sorry, Cormac, over to you.
You're fine. No, Matt, I was wondering, to what extent is the information held by the education providers structured to make this easy for you to build it? So let's say it's Jonathan's University, Ulster. Are we talking about easily structured web pages that's easy for you to get at that content to build that, or are you seeing examples where universities have PDF documents that represent the university's prospectus? How easy is it to corral all that information to target the user at it?
So in effect, the way that we do that is via the platform. So in effect, the education providers can advertise to the students at that point. So we do it largely in this instance of contextual data. So if a student is interested in things like, say, for example, mathematics or computer science, then we provide the educator the opportunity for them to provide information on exactly that.
Okay, so
if that's what they're interested, yeah. So it's not just a case of educators being able to say, right, I represent UU. I would like students to come to UU. It's just like, yes, this is a student who lives locally, who's interested in mathematics, who wants to go on to have, is interested in, say, statistics as a career following on from that. So it means that we're able to provide. Now, we don't provide the individual's details to the university, but we're able to categorize them, and so the university can then tailor their pitch depending on the categories that are available.
Okay. Brilliant. Thanks. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, judges. That was great. So it is time to meet our third and final finalist. And that is Sandy Davey from CarePath Assist. So, Sandy, do come up and join us. It's been pretty fun so far. Some great pictures. And Sandy, welcome. If you are you showing us some slides?
Yeah, I'll share the screen now.
Brilliant. If once you've got your screen ready to share, we'll put the 4-minute counter on, and I will disappear, and you will be underway with your pitch, sir.
No problem.
So I'll just give you a moment to do that.
There you go.
Brilliant. Good luck.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Sandy. I'm Director of Digital Care Systems. And for those of you that read my rather complex pitch, I know you'll probably be thinking, oh, data is just data. But healthcare data is inherently closed. Healthcare systems are incredibly complex, and you've only got to listen to concepts of moonshots in the last 24 hours, and you should hopefully be able to relate to this diagram that says, look, we're trying to reach for the moon even with normal innovation, let alone trying to test millions of people. And that's what makes it very contentious as well. So it's very difficult to get data in healthcare, and this is where open data comes in. But the way in which I think, probably need to do that is you need to look at a continuous improvement angle. And I like to call this outcomes-based accountability. And I know those who are familiar with the draft program for government will know what outcomes-based accountability is. And it's just, I haven't seen that in healthcare. So yes, it's just data, but health data is special. Now, how on earth do we leverage open data to bring benefit and business to both local industry and the healthcare sector? And that is the $6 million question, really. So there are three broad mechanisms that we have started to leverage open data to build Care Path Assist into. Now, Care Path Assist is a pathway management technology stack, and Assist is basically automation to support self-assessment of illness severity for triage. And I think that group of words should mean a lot to a lot of people. We know our emergency care system, our unscheduled and emergency care system, is under extraordinary strain. We know there is a need for channel shift. We know there is a need to do more, distributed or left shift in care. The question is, how on earth do you do that with data and applications? And the answer is there are three broad pillars. Assisting the clinical business intelligence, and that gives you the baseline for your outcomes-based accountability. Because we lack the capacity, we lack the competency, and we lack the products and the skills. Yes, it's very easy to buy a large proprietary stack, but when you don't have the team to really get into that data, and as Anaeko, data optimizing, data cleaning, whatever you want to call it, if you don't have that team, you end up producing something that a sixth former could produce within a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. Let's be clear. Augmenting, and that's where, how on earth do we do augmenting deteriorating patient risk prediction? Well, it actually comes from a project that we started in the Southeastern Trust where, again, back to the closed nature of healthcare data, it became obvious that we weren't really going to get access to the real data in a timely fashion. So we pivoted with the Mimic3 data set, and we demonstrated that we could actually transfer world leadings, and I'm actually reluctant to use the term world leading actually, but we could transfer high-level science and machine learning to bear on local data for this. But of course, the Encompass project really squeezed out all the rest of the budget for phase 2 SBRI. And then what we're really getting into is automation, and we're looking at pathway technology that could automate frailty diagnosis for major surgery. So what you really have is open data that is building a pipeline and an application architecture that is really going back to that diagram that I showed in the first instance of iterative and incremental progression from better data all the way through to big data and fully distributed, automated, urgent and emergency care. Now, the other benefits are rather indirect, and again, our business model is a little indirect. But if you look at what we've contributed with some of the stuff that we've done thus far, we're leveraging open data. We are bringing master's students through, giving them extra skills, and of course, then we're finding more ethical ways of doing business. And we're really just breaking onto the scene. So I think that there's a lot of potential in this model in leveraging, as you've seen in the proposal. Quite a detailed proposal as to how you could leverage open source data to augment your pipeline and augment your offering. So
well done, Sandy.
Yeah.
Sorry, if I had a whistle or a bell, I would be blowing it or
no,
ringing it.
Far away.
So thank you so much for doing the pitch. I'm going to invite up our two judges for their 5 minutes of questions. So we have Cormac Mcconaughey returning, and I suggest Cormac asks his question first. And then with him, we have Siggy Siverson as well. So if the two judges can come up and join us. And then once I leave the stage, we will set the 5-minute timer for the two judges. So judges, over to you. And Good luck, Sandy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Sandy, the COVID experience over the last 6 months, has that made your pitch that much easier to make internally?
I think that's what kicked off CarePath Assist, in that it started out as an eRoth score with voice recognition to calculate breathlessness. And again, that was kicked into touch when Professor Greenhall highlighted that wasn't a valid measure of hypoxia. However, it was a trust in West Suffolk CCG that brought us on board to do a bit of innovation consulting as to how they could develop that left shift and manage, and we did a little report about, again, a pyramidal report of improving the flow of care, leveraging telemedicine, and then getting into AI at the very top. So yeah, it certainly has been useful.
And to what extent at the moment would clinicians get presented with, an analytics dashboard to try and explain ongoing issues or trends? Is that something that's used much at the moment?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, frontline analytics doesn't go very much beyond basic counting. And I know you're involved in the Northern Ireland Emergency Care Waiting Times dashboard, but there's much more to it than just a wait. There's mean residence time. There's hospital level early warning scores that have been published, and we're just not using that. And it gets into the complexity and the closed nature of the data.
Okay. Sandy, quick. So CarePath Assist, is that a product? Is it a set of tools? Is it a framework? What is it?
That you've just touched again on another important concept that many people in digital health, in the health sector now, in my experience, don't understand a service. Now, certainly some people at the back end and maybe in the coding department, they do, but when you're speaking to more high level people you need to procure with, you have to have a product of some description. So it's both, it's solution and service. And this is what brings us into a more open standards / open source approach. So it's not just open data, but it's about open standards and it's about open source. And you blend that into a subscription and a professional services revenue model, you've got something that's infinitely more ethical and value based than what you've. And I see your eyebrow raised there. I like that response. I would just like to see what you're thinking about whether or not it is more ethical.
No. It's not. But I'm just struggling, I guess, to get my head around it. So it's some technology component that you, on a case-by-case, customer basis, sell as a kind of a one-off project by using a mixture of various data sources, your technology providers, to do a custom build for your customer.
Yeah, we have an application now that looks at pathways that then has a professional services offering with analytics on top of it. And
you're selling this to who? To the trusts?
So again, you can take it's a multifaceted approach. You can sell it to trusts, you can sell the consultancy services to other companies who need health data scientists, subject matter experts. So it's really developing that multifocal approach to your business model, because we all know that selling into the health service is an absolute nightmare.
Absolutely.
Is there also a desire to show an element of transparency with this? Obviously, there's sensitivities in certain aspects of the data, but there's an opportunity to show what's going on within the health service as well. Whether it's some of your analytics going to the outside world to say where are the issues and where are the pressure points.
So actually, with CarePath Assist, one of the key application features is that it's patient facing, and we're using patients to curate their own information. Now, we're not expecting patients to share that information publicly, but it's a vehicle for engagement where you can then get patients and seek their active consent for more granular information sharing. And again, I think once you find you have patients that level of control and over their information, they'll want to see the metrics, they'll want to see more detail, they'll want to see the why and the how, not just high level numbers and times. And that's where then you have the application element of CarePath Assist provides a consent platform by which you can do mass engagement. And that's how I was saying to young Lucy, that the platform like this is really good, where you can actually have these virtual focus groups and really proactively engage. So our roadmap is quite aspirational.
Okay. And you talked about existing projects that you're doing. So what's the state of the technology at the moment?
Yeah, so the CarePath Assist is currently coming to the end of ECMI in the next couple of weeks, and we'll have an alpha, and we've already applied for it. We're looking at funding, and again, this is the problem, leveraging the money out of trust is still quite tricky, and you're coming up against established tier 1 vendors from an application side, and then you're in the BI team. You're kind of it's quite a closed market locally. So we're looking at a mixed approach for phase 2, basically, public funding and procurement.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Well done, Sandy. Well done, judges. So that completes our pitches and our Q&A with the judges. So well done to our 3 finalists. Well done to our judges for asking some tough questions. So let me tell you